and all you've ever done is bully me into being your damn puppet and expecting me to do it with a smile on my face. I tried one last time to get along with you guys. I tried one last time to do something nice for you, and you ruined it, just like you ruined everything. I worked hard like I always do, and I started to win. And win, 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 and win. Oh, I won a lot, and you hated it. Because all you've ever done there for 25 years is sit on your ass and watch me be great.
Hate the money I see, clothes that I buy, ice that I wear, flows that I try. Close your eyes, picture me rolling, sixes, money folding, bitches, honeys that swollen, the richest. Nas get in ya, most critically acclaimed Pulitzer Prize winner, best storyteller, thug narrator, my style's greater, model data, big threat to a lot of you haters, commentators, ringside.
This time, from fucking, I guess, what's it called? Pollen or whatever. It's got my sinuses and shit all out of whack. But at least this time we actually recording with a mic and not off my fucking phone. Like I said at the end of that episode that I was pretty much just sitting up and I was like, you know what, fuck it. Let's how about we just record this shit right now? Fuck it. What B-Roll Rise said, fuck it, we'll do it live. Whatever. So yeah, welcome to another episode of the Top Rope Take. I am straight. Hope you enjoyed last week. If you didn't, hey man, tell me to go fuck myself. I'll figure something out. But if you did, I appreciate you for coming back. I appreciate you for sharing. Appreciate you for liking. Appreciate you for any type of outreach that you gave to me. Any type of support. Like I said last week, even if you clicked on the shit, listened to about 5 minutes and then turned the shit off and said, yeah, this sucks. I appreciate the click. I appreciate the play, whatever. But man, I originally was going to record this shit, 2 days ago? Because if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I said, yeah, I really don't feel like waiting till Friday. Because I feel like if I end up waiting till Friday or waiting until both episodes of Raw and SmackDown and NXT and all this other shit air and all of that, then this pretty much turns into something I didn't want it to be. Like, I don't want this to turn into a goddamn it. I don't want this to turn into a weekly review, because that's honestly not what it is, because it's a lot of wrestling that I'm not watching. I tap in with what I want to, and I keep in touch, or I keep, on top of a lot of shit that feels like, it should be important to what I talk about. But in terms of locking in on this shit week in and week out, it's too much. I just can't do it. Like, this ain't, if this was the only thing that I was doing, this was the only thing that was paying me, cool. I got no problem with it. But a nigga works a full-time job. And when I get home, I'm tired, and and if I'm watching any fucking wrestling 9 times out of 10, I'm watching some shit from the mid 2000s. So I didn't want this to turn into a weekly review thing, because I've already done a weekly review thing with Hell Going On. Even though it was like vintage weekly review, it was still a weekly review and having to sift through a lot of bullshit that I did not like to get to the parts that I did. And now with the format that I'm trying to go for, it gives me a little bit of freedom in terms of what I can talk about, what I want to talk about, and how deeply I can go into all of these fucking topics. So I hope that you enjoy, for the most part, what I have been doing, even though this is just the second episode. But on the bright side, or on the flip side, this isn't like it was with Hell Going On, where we recorded one episode and then we waited damn near a month to record the next one. So at least this time, like, you didn't even have to wait a week. Like, I'll drop the first episode on Monday. Here it is Saturday. You about to get the second one. And yes, if you listen to this, that means that I recorded this shit an hour or two before I actually put the shit out. So yeah, welcome to another episode of the Top Rotate, where I talk about wrestling and how I relate to this shit and what ultimately this means to me, and how I view it, like how I'm looking at a bunch of this shit from somebody. And I really need to stop this shit from somebody who is into it deeply, but also can't think about it past the surface level. Like, I'm not a casual viewer by any means. I haven't been a casual viewer since probably 2015. Like I said, when I took that long ass break from watching, it was basically just me watching from the outside. I wasn't watching weekly shows. Wasn't watching NXT. Wasn't watching pay-per-views. Didn't watch no content about it. None of that. Like, when I was out, I was out. Like, I wasn't like involved at all. And now for the past few years, pretty much the past decade, I've been like really like fully into it. Like I back when it was the network, I was fully going and getting them fucking cars because I didn't feel like paying. I didn't feel like committing and paying with my own car. So I was getting the network cars and doing all of that shit. Even now, with them being in between Peacock and Netflix, I'm not paying for both of those. So I canceled the Netflix not canceled Netflix. I canceled the Peacock, and I went and found me a nice little website that I can watch all of the shit that I can. And we moving, and we go on from there. But yeah, man, like I was on TikTok last night, and I came across this dude who was talking about his love for wrestling and how much he fully appreciates and how much he just looks at it and sees something that he loves and enjoys. And I felt the same way, because I'm like, this shit has been here like forever for me. I was talking to somebody a while ago, and I was telling them like how I treat wrestling, why I appreciate wrestling so much is that it keeps me grounded in terms of it keeps me connected to my childhood. It's my comfort thing. Like, when I'm down or when I'm bored or any of this other shit, I know what I can do to make me feel better. I can throw on WrestleMania 17 or X7. I can throw that shit on and just put that shit in the background and just kick back and enjoy it. Like, that shit will lift my fucking spirit. I can throw on SummerSlam 02 and just vibe out. You know what I'm saying? Like, this shit, it means something to me. Like, the most games I have ever like fully given my full attention to were all like wrestling games. Like, yeah, I played my sports and my shooters and all this other shit, but the ones that I fully like threw myself into were all wrestling games in terms of stories and all this other shit. And it's like, when you grow up with it having that much meaning to you, where, you know, when I got into the indies, I was trying to check out each and every one, wasn't really judging nobody over nothing. Even down to the what's this shit called? Not cable, but the local access channels, the shit that you got to go back to like channel 1, channel 2 to go watch, you know, like the public access. That's what it is. Going back to them channels and seeing what the fuck is on those, like watching just local wrestling shows, going down to the fairgrounds to go watch when they got wrestling going on, just all of that shit. When something like that has an effect on you, when it means that much to you, then you can finally understand why people treat this shit the way that they do. Why people get so like wrapped up in all of this shit, and how people have such like strong reactions to what happens in like these major companies. Now, will it ever get to that point with me where I'm hemming and hawing and bitching and moaning over shit that honestly has no real meaning over my life? No, because I'm able to separate. Like, I'm able to understand, like, yeah, I may not like this shit, but when I let it get to the point where it's affecting my daily life, that's when shit has gone too far. Like, when I'm going back and forth with niggas on Twitter, that's when you know you've gone too far about this shit. Like, and I think that's one of the main things that is lost in terms of how people view wrestling these days, and that there's no, like, I'm probably finna butcher like the actual meaning, but there's like no objectivity to it. Like, niggas do not understand that, yeah, man, you might like this and somebody else might like some other shit. It's okay to have a healthy disagreement on that, but when you get to the point where you start like hold down, like criticize a nigga's character over the type of shit they like, that's when it gets to like, all right, we reached a point of no return. This is when we like fully lost the plot. And I think we're getting that when we start talking about like the whole Jey Uso shit. I think niggas are really losing the plot when it comes to Jey Uso. I think niggas are really like, they are really, how do I say it? I think I brought it up last week when I was talking about people being so committed to being on the right side of history that they lose all common sense in terms of how they argue and how they talk about certain things. And damn it, fucking mic just fell, excuse me. Hold on. God damn it, we probably had to cut this shit. But yeah, I think people lose all subjectivity when they talk about this whole Jey Uso shit in terms of like, is it a good thing? Is it a good look? Does he deserve it? Does he this, that, and the third? And I've tried my best to be very objective in how I talk about Jey Uso. Because if you say one wrong thing, then you get lumped into this category of people who don't really appreciate and people who are just haters and all this other shit. And we really have to stop that. We really have to stop claiming that when people start telling the truth about something that we are turning on things. Like, people be like, well, just last week or just such and such, y'all were eating it up. Y'all were loving it. Y'all were loving it when Jey Uso was doing this, that, and the third. And it's like, yeah, because it was cool. It was cool, and we were acknowledging that what he was doing with the crowd, with the interest, that was cool. There's also the other side of that coin where it's like, yeah, that's cool, but this isn't what you do with the main event of WrestleMania. And the closer we get to WrestleMania, the more it looks like this shit probably isn't going to main event WrestleMania. With the fact that he's been openly in these interviews talking about he doesn't need to be the main event of WrestleMania, that's when you know that they have acknowledged that they've somewhat made a mistake. When niggas get the main event and start talking about how they don't need the main event, yeah, y'all trying to soft launch y'all trying to soft launch putting this shit in the middle of the card and being like, you know what, I bet we didn't players fuck up. We didn't mean to do this. But I just think that in terms of Jey Uso, there's some good with him. There's also way too much fucking bad, right? Like I came across this TikTok the other day with somebody talking about, well, yeah, people use the term that, oh, he's a tag team wrestler, and when it being just solely a tag team guy determined that you weren't really worthy or you didn't have that type of quality and weren't capable of doing all these other things. And that's always kind of been a thing. It's always been a thing that if you were like a lifelong tag team guy, when you finally broke out, yeah, and you had a whole lot of skeptics being like, all right, let's see if he can really live up to being able to be a singles guy. Like, even when I can't remember who brought this shit up on the timeline, but they were talking about, yeah, people act like people see Jey Uso and act like he was hiding in them tag team matches. I mean, 1v1 and 2v2 is completely different. Like, when you have somebody that you're able to work alongside and you're not solely responsible for the quality of this match, yeah, my nigga, like that's kind of how it happens. It's a reason when it's a reason when the Rockers broke up, why you got the Marginetti and the Shawn Michaels. Why? Which one of these two is going to be the one to come out and be the better singles wrestler, right? And that's why when most of these tag teams, when they end up breaking up, we don't see them broken up for long. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when the Usos broke up, I was like, all right, I get this shit about a year before they slapped them two back together. And the I guess the real true test for them was that match at Mania 41. No, not 41, 40. That match at 40 when it was Jay and Jimmy against each other. And then we saw, oh, both of you motherfuckers are limited. Like, we joke about Young Bucks being super kick merchants and that's all they do is super kicks and half of their offense is like, yeah, that's a bunch of that is true. But you also can't put that, you can't, and I know that, and I was about to say some shit that probably didn't make that much sense, but I think I've always been weary about the conversation between the Young Bucks and the Usos because you can map a Uso match out to a T, right? You can kind of do the same thing with the Young Bucks, but I think the Young Bucks moveset is more varied in terms of how much they can do, how fast they can move within each other. But with the Usos, it's really kind of one note when you think about it. Splashes and super kicks, and that's about it. Real punchy, kicky, no real, like, actual, like, full, like, technical aspects of anything. And so I think people have kind of tricked themselves into thinking that because the Usos were so dominant in their time as a tag team in the WWE that they are top tier quality wrestlers, lacking the context that, hey man, for the better part of their run as a tag team, the tag team division was largely forgotten about. Like, it was largely put on the back burner. in terms where you think about so many quality tag teams came through the WWE at that time that didn't really get no shine because Vince McMahon didn't really give a fuck about tag teams, which isn't like something that people have just kind of thought about and been like, oh, well, that's just kind of how he acts about tag. Like, no, it's like been put on wax that he does not give a fuck about tag teams. He views tag teams as just like kind of secondary. I take this back even to when I was doing my 2006 rewatch. And I vividly remember making notes about how, yeah, man, this tag team division is lacking. Like, they do not put any effort into these tag teams. Like, of course, you had the Highlanders, Crime Time, Kane and Big Show, La Resistance, World's Greatest Tag Team, even though they only came together like once or twice. But DX and all these other, Kate and Murdoch. And it's like all these tag teams, and yet you keep giving me the same three. You keep recycling the same three from week to week. You really do not give a fuck about this tag team division at all. Which again was funny because like you go to SmackDown and it's the complete opposite, which means that, oh, he's fully in control of this one over here. But I digress. People are missing the point. Like, nobody's turning on Jey Uso. Nobody's being like, oh, his whole shtick is like shitty now. Like, no, it's an enjoyable experience. Like, the entrance is cool. But when, you know, I remember when Penta first debuted on Raw, and I came across somebody saying Penta is really one of those people who's and then the bell rings. No, it wasn't Penta. It was Tama Tonga. Where they were like, Tama Tonga has all of this cool shit in the world, and then the bell rings and all of that shit goes away, and you realize that, oh, it's really not that much here. I think that's what people are recognizing when it comes to Jey. Like, yeah, this entrance is cool, this music is cool, his look is cool, but then the bell rings and there's nothing really there. And I made sure to like properly do my research in terms of like to not sound like I'm getting on here and just talking out my ass. I went back and I watched a bunch of his past matches. I watched a bunch of that King of the Ring shit. I watched the one that people kind of look at that match with Ilya, and I was like, oh yeah, this is if this is what you want for Mania, then you are really going to be disappointed. And then of course you get to like doubling back on people not wanting to be on the wrong side of history. You get the people who are so committed to being on that right side of history that they're just not willing to hear nothing else. Like somebody was saying, now watch when the match at Mania ends up being good or halfway decent. People are going to give all the credit to Gunther. Like, yeah, my nigga, like, have you not seen what Gunther has been able to do? Like, it's not bad when people are able to give credit to some other people. That's what happened to fucking Tom McGee and Bret Hart. Tom McGee was a shit wrestler. Had his tryout match with Bret Hart. Niggas thought he was the second coming of Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you pay those people for. That's what you pay. That's what you pay the Shawn Michaels for. That's what you pay the Bret Harts for. The Bryan Danielsons. That's what you pay these people for. To where you can come into a match with him, and I will hide all of your inefficiencies. I will hide all of those. You will look like the greatest wrestler of all time for how I sell, for how I work with you. That's what you do. It's also the fact that when that match comes, are you putting in are you really doing anything else? Because when we've seen what you've tried to do, right? You tried to spice this shit up last week, trying to do that dive over the top rope, and damn, they killed yourself. That didn't help. That's not helping nobody. Like, that's only fueling the niggas that look at you and being like, oh yeah, this shit is gonna be terrible. It's not gonna be worth nothing. He gonna get up here and he gonna embarrass himself trying to prove a whole lot of people wrong. And now it's kind of like, all right, so where do we go from here? I mentioned last week about when Jey was fighting Roman at SummerSlam for the Undisputed Championship, and how people were really clamoring for him to win that match and become champion. And then as soon as he would have won that match, people would have been like, oh yeah, this was a mistake. Where do we go from here? Like, what do we do? And that was before. That was when his character was like really in the process of being properly developed. Now he's just fully regressed all the way back to catchphrase dude. And even on that, like, You can't see somebody talk about how his whole shtick is a catchphrase or a word that was popular fucking a decade ago. Actually, a decade and a half ago. It was popular a decade and a half ago from an app that only lasted a year or two. And he made that his whole thing. And that's how, that's, you, it's a shitty catchphrase that gets so fucking tiring. Yeah, he's got a cool entrance, but outside of that, what else is there? He does stand out in the ring. He does stand out on the mic. What else is there? You put him next to his brother, cool. They can kind of bounce off each other. You put him in a group of Roman, all right, cool. Now they really don't have to do anything. But then you separate all that shit entirely and you put him out there by himself. What does he have to offer? He doesn't have a compelling story. He doesn't. Like, at least when it was Kofi, like niggas had watched him struggle for years and years and years to to really stick his land in terms of not top guys, but like being a real contender for a main championship. Like, we watched the shit with him and Randy and how that shit didn't work out. We watched that shit. With Jey, it's kind of like, all right, what really have you counted? Like, what have you really been through? You had this whole shit with your family and how that shook out and how they really didn't go anywhere, but how you came out of that. But outside of that, what have you really been through? You know, you teamed up with Cody and was a short-lived tag team. All right, cool. That was kind of cool for the most part. Again, you're strong. You come out and you end up being way more enjoyable in the ring when you're in a tag team. When you're by yourself, it's like, all right, this is kind of boring. And people see that. People see people having a realization that, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And people see that and be like, oh, well, they're just turning on him. They're the full turn was like, no, man, niggas ain't turning on shit. Niggas is just being realistic about it. Niggas are being realist about this whole situation and realizing, oh, this is not what we really, this isn't what we really want. Like, yeah, the whole main event Jey Uso thing was cool. Until he got in this bitch and was like, oh, this isn't, we thought he was going to get something different when he actually got up here. The same thing, like, niggas had the same reaction when it was Kofi Kingston. When Kofi Mania happened and he won the heavyweight championship at WrestleMania 35, and then the next week he came out still slinging pancakes, and he was like, oh, you don't do this when you're the champion no more. Like you don't, like, you got to come up with something else. Like, you were in a tag team, you won this championship, and now you still come out with the tag team, and you have not separated yourself at all. And people, I might be blanking on this, I might be in the wrong, but I think people have the same exact reaction that we have it now, except now it's just come a whole lot earlier, before the win has actually happened, if the win happens. Because even right now, I don't think that they go through with this. I think they see the reaction online and they realize, oh, this isn't really gonna work for us. This moment right here is where we have to make the decision to where we don't go hunting for the moment more than the overall product. Because I think that's honestly what this ends up being. This is what this shit boils down to. Where WWE is hunting for a moment instead of like the overall product. Which can hurt, can really much like really throw a wrench in a whole lot of shit. Case in point, back when Otis won the Money in the Bank match, like, yeah, that whole time was weird because we were in the middle of COVID and niggas didn't really know what was going where and who was doing what, and so you could kind of get away with a lot of shit because in a few years niggas would really forget about all of this shit. But even then, it's like, okay, this was cool. People really do like Otis, but this isn't, you don't give this to a nigga like him. And if you do, like, all right, like, what how does this go? Like, I saw somebody saying, yeah, you want us to believe that Jey Uso is a legit contender for the World Heavyweight Championship, but you still got him down here interacting with fucking the Alpha Academy. You still got him dwelling in the fucking mid-card, but you want us to believe that he's going to be able to beat Gunther. Now, given Gunther isn't unbeatable, we saw the shit last year at Mania with Sami Zayn. He's not unbeatable. But then there's still levels to that shit. All right, that's Sami Zayn. Like, that's, we know what he can do in the ring. Jey Uso ain't no Sami Zayn. Jey Uso is cool. He's a cool character. He's all the things that you want for somebody who you can advertise to kids. All the merch, all of the shit. That's cool. But at some point, we got to get back down to what this shit is really all about. Like, is he believable in the ring? Like, just this past week, man, you do a 7-minute entrance, have a minute match, and you gas halfway through it. And then you pulling shit out your ass to some shit you ain't never did. Like, and I'm not saying he's never done a dive outside the ring. I've seen him do many suicide dives. But over the top rope, and then you fuck it up like that. And then, of course, people come out the woodwork just trying to cope. Trying to cope and be like, oh, well, everybody fucks up. Everybody makes a mistake. It's like, yeah, man, but y'all niggas killed Top Dollar for that shit. And rightfully so. Because all Top Dollar did was talk shit. But y'all killed Top Dollar for that shit. He will never lay that down. Anytime niggas talk about Top Dollar, they gonna post a clip of him almost decapitating himself trying to do a top rope dive. But the funny thing about Top Dollar was that he was the third man in a 2-person tag team. We really wasn't supposed to give a fuck about Top Dollar. This is the nigga that won the Royal Rumble over John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins. This is the nigga that won the Royal Rumble. This is the person that you are putting up to win the main event of WrestleMania of night 1, because that shit ain't touching night 2. I'm sorry, we got too much going on. We got too much going on night 2, but night 1, yeah, man, I think people really need to start telling the truth, and people need to start being honest and being okay with the fact that, yeah, man, they make mistakes, and some of the shit that you like sometimes it doesn't really come to fruition. It just doesn't. Like, you thought that Jey would be propped up into this main event scene, and that would be the thing to really bring out his full potential in terms of a singles wrestler. And then it happened, and it's like, oh yeah, man, you are destined to be a tag team wrestler for the rest of your life. Like, it's cool. There's nothing wrong with being a tag team wrestler. Some niggas have made their whole careers on being tag team wrestlers. It's cool. It's like the singles is not for everybody. And that's okay. You can't be upset with niggas pointing that out. You also can't be so diluted in your own disillusion that when you get so set on somebody being something that you can't hear otherwise. Even when it's put directly in your face. Even to the point where niggas was like, even to the point where niggas got on niggas was comparing Jey Uso to Jeff Hardy. And with that's where I realized that this whole conversation wasn't for me. Like, when I saw that, and when I saw niggas starting to do that shit, I'm like, all right, cool. This is going in a direction that I'm not jiggy with. Like, I felt like Chill Town, fucking old buddy from TikTok. Like, you have no idea how good Jeff Hardy was. You have no fucking idea how good Jeff Hardy was. Was Jeff Hardy good on the mic? Absolutely not. He wasn't the best promo at all. But one thing you could expect when Jeff Hardy got in that ring, you was gonna get something new and different every single time. He was gonna come up with some shit to bring that crowd to life. He wasn't resting on his fucking laurels and being like, all right, cool, I got like 5 moves that I know I can do. Like, no. Jey Uso doesn't have a single match that can stack up to Shawn Michaels, Jeff Hardy back in 2008. Not one single match he's got that can stack up to that at all. Not one. And yet you feel like because he has the look, he has the kids, and he's popular away from the ring and all of this shit, that those two things are close enough to one another that you can be like, oh, okay, cool. That's what we can compare it to. No. As a nigga who was around for prime Jeff Hardy, that is not the case at all. I was one of them kids in that crowd in 2009 when he said, this isn't goodbye, this is a see you later. Fucking devastated. I was one of them kids in that crowd in 2006 when he came back. Like, thank God. I love Jeff Hardy. I love him. Like, I don't think people properly understand the real impact of who Jeff Hardy was and why people still continue to give him chance after chance after chance after chance. Because we saw what the peak looks like. Yeah, he's old as hell now, and he's slowing down, but there's still something there. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's still a whole lot there. And I was talking to Zell a couple of days ago, and I was like, I think the Jeff Hardy Jey Uso debate is more of a generational thing than it is about like Jay and Jeff. Like, I think it's legit a millennial Gen Z thing where millennials will constantly tell about how something actually was, how it was living through it, what was it like seeing it, breathing it in real time. And then Gen Z comes in and gives a cheap imitation of what they thought it was. Right? The same thing with fashion. When Gen Z motherfuckers was on TikTok talking about, yeah, this is Y2K fashion. This is how we dress, and this we're taking what they did and we just replicating it. And then you see niggas wearing some of the most egregious bullshit possible because that's what they thought niggas was liking in the early 2000s. And it's like, no. And then when somebody who was actually alive and actually in scene when all that shit was going on, and they tell them like, yeah, people weren't really doing this, people weren't really doing that, we were kind of doing it a little different. It gets kind of shunned and thrown away like, well, no, this is how we viewed it. And so when people come up and it's like, oh yeah, the gap between Jeff Hardy and Jey Uso isn't that great. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure there were a handful of niggas who saw Jeff Hardy getting that main event push and were like, all right, are we sure we really want to go down this route? But it wasn't to the effect of how it is now with Jey Uso. There was never a question on if Jeff could do this shit by himself when he wasn't with the Hardy Boys. There was never a question, because guess what? Both him and Matt were good enough away from each other to where they could survive. To where people didn't have to question, or people didn't have to wait. All right, man, when are we gonna put the Hardy Boys back together? Like this shit is run its course. When are we gonna put the Hardy Boys back together? Like, when? Because at some point, this shit is getting kind of out of hand, and neither one of these things is working. No. Like, Matt has had, 15 different versions of himself that work by themselves with no need for Jeff Hardy to be around. Same thing with Jeff. They're good enough in ring, they're good enough character-wise to where they can evolve and be great. And people will believe in them to be, like, main event stars. Like, you go back to, what was that, 2002, that match with The Undertaker, that ladder match with The Undertaker. Do you honestly think that Jey Uso could do some shit like that? And people not be upset about him being in that match? Like, no. Because Jeff was able to bring something different, right? He was able to switch it up every now and then in his matches to where he could really, like, come to life. And Jey hasn't really shown to be able to do that. Like, yeah, like, people, like I said, man, people are really dead set on being on the right side of history. Whether it's Jey Uso is the worst or Jey Uso is the best. To the part where the middle gets lost and people just end up angry no matter what. And that's just a terrible way to watch this shit. It's a terrible way to watch it. And that's the way that I personally choose not to watch that. So when people ask me about how I feel about Jey Uso, I'm like, I mean, hopefully this doesn't last that long. Hopefully it doesn't last that long. Because am I a fan of it? No, I'm not a fan of it. I don't believe in Jey Uso as a single superstar. Let me clarify that. It's not so much that I don't believe in him to be a good singles star. I just don't believe that he's at the level where he can compete for a championship. At least the main championship. Like, you throw him the IC belt, cool. You throw him the US championship, cool. We have to understand there are tiers to this shit. And there should be entry level requirements before you get up here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool every now and then for somebody wholly, like, out of place in this whole, like, equation to come through and win. But that's if it's unpredictable. You have been, like, kind of broadcasting this shit that eventually this shit is going to happen for the past 3 years. And in those 3 years, where you were supposed to have given someone the ability to be like, all right, in those 3 years where you have been broadcasting that at some point Jey Uso was going to win a main title, you should have used those 3 years to fully get somebody to come around on the idea that this isn't as wild a thing as you think it is. But you haven't. He hasn't. Every single time there's been a whole lot of like, I still don't know. Even before he turned into Yeet Man, it was like, I guess, man. Like, oh, okay, whatever. And then it's the fact that when he gets to a main level thing, you immediately jump straight from like Royal Rumble. Like, you don't even test the waters with nothing lesser than. And I know you might be saying, well, they did test it. They did test it with something lesser than with the IC belt. And I like, yeah, I mean, I got that's. I'm talking about in terms of testing him in the waters with the main event, right? Putting him in like a Money in the Bank, putting him in elimination chambers and all that shit. Like putting him in something where he has to shine, where he has to by himself fully like get people to come around on the idea that, oh, this is a real possibility, and he just hasn't. And so now it's felt like they've just kind of said, fuck it, we're going through with it anyway. We've committed to the bit so far. We just have to go ahead and go through with it. And so you can't be upset that people feel that that's not, you know, that's something that's not going to work, you know. But yeah, man, like that even going back to niggas bringing up Jeff and Jay in the same conversation, I don't get that. I do not understand that. And people act like it's some wild thing to be offended by somebody saying Jeff Hardy and Jey Uso on the same level. Like, nigga, do you not remember 2008? That's about 2008 alone. Like, Jay is cool. Jay is cool. But there's nothing that surpasses 2008 Jeff Hardy. Like, that whole bigger than Obama shit, like, that shit is real. That shit is real. Like, there wasn't a single match Jeff was in where niggas didn't want him to win. And I know somebody's gonna say, well, yeah, that's if you listen to the crowd now with Jay, like, yeah, I get that. But this is when being able to be, this is when being not subjective, whichever, you know what the fuck I'm trying to say. This is when being able to like reason with that comes into play, you know. You listen and you see all this Jey Uso shit, and it's like, how much of this comes from the entrance? How much of this hype and shit comes from, oh, he's coming through the crowd, he does the up and down shit. All right, that's cool. How much of that comes from that? How much of that how much does a nigga do in ring compared to his entrance affect how the fans react to him? How much? How many reactions come from him in ring? How many? How many come from the entrance? How many comes from his promo skills? How many? Just any of that shit. That's where the real story is. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where the real story is. So I just need people to be more realistic in terms of how they talk about him and how they react to people who talk about him, and understand that, yeah, man, like a lot of this shit, it's okay for people to feel how they feel about this shit. It's okay to recognize that some shit ain't great. It's okay to recognize that a bunch of this shit doesn't really make sense. Even in terms of how people have said that they weren't really fucking with the Mania build so far. Like, that's a real complaint. Like, a lot of this shit doesn't really feel all that hype. A lot of this shit feels like pretty much second, you know, like there was no real long-term plans into this shit. Like, even though you got niggas now, well, even for the past few years, niggas have been talking about, oh, WWE and their long-term booking and all of this shit. And then you look at it and it's like, oh, y'all are piecing together shit that is wholly, really unrelated to one another. But yet it just all happens to come together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I I can understand how somebody says that they're not really looking forward to that this Mania build hasn't really gotten them any hype, right? It's a lot of niggas who just aren't around. It's a lot of niggas who just kind of have been placed in spaces. A lot of matches that people just don't really seem to really care about. A lot of stories that kind of seem half-assed. A lot of stories that just kind of like, all right, we just needed niggas for a match. And so bam, here you go. This is what you got. Right? If you look down the card so far and you look down, it's like there are alternatives for each and every one of these matches that would have been the better alternative. Like for the better part of a year, y'all been building to Roman and Solo, or Roman and Rock. All right, Rock chose up, went with John Cena. All right, cool. Now you can go with Roman and Solo, but that happened. Like that blew off like pretty much very earlier this year. Like, all right, cool. The triple threat with Roman, Seth, and Punk. We know what this match was supposed to be. Last year, this match was supposed to be Punk and Seth. Cool. Why the fuck do we need the three of these niggas in a match together? Like, why? You know, and even like these two matches split separately would have been a whole lot, would have been a better option than the triple threat. Seth and Punk, great. Seth and Roman, even better. We finally get a blow off to a build that niggas have been claiming have been put together for the past 10 years. Cool. Roman and Punk, good. A battle for Paul Heyman, that's great. Like, it just feels like they've been needing to fill slots. What's probably going to be Naomi and Jade. That shit, it's happened way too early, and there's no real like build to it. It's not like there's nothing there. And then on top of that, you get Jade up here having this fucking promo sounding one note as hell, like she's reading this shit off a card behind the camera. And I don't mean I was giving Jade all the grace in the world, but it has like there's some truth to her regressing to the fact that it sounds like, yeah, man, you really haven't gotten much better, if at all, in terms of like ring quality, mic quality, character quality since you've left AEW. Like there hasn't really been that much work put in at all, to the point where we 2 years into this shit and you still seem like you have a look, but you are boring as hell. Boring as hell. Cool. Bianca, Rhea, and Io. Sorry, excuse me. All right, cool. We just having another situation from Mania 35 where you insert somebody just for the fuck of it. Where Charlotte got put into that match just for the hell of it. All right, cool, man. Whatever. You want to do whatever you want to do. The only one of these matches that I'm hyped for is Cena Cody. And that's only because of the whole Cena heel thing. Other than that, I wouldn't really be looking forward to that. Like, that's not, you know, my mind was set up. I was thinking about fucking Cody Randy at some point, because I think that's the better story to tell. But this Mania build just really hasn't been like it just really has been. It hasn't felt like Mania season. That in combination with the past few Raws and SmackDowns being overseas and coming on at weird times and all this other shit, like it just hasn't felt. None of this shit has felt like, oh yeah, Mania is like a couple of weeks away. None of it has. And it's not a bad thing to say that. Which is like I was saying earlier about people acting like speaking against certain things is just wrong, morally wrong. And it's like, nah, man, like it's okay to admit that some shit is not okay. You know what I'm saying? I've just been having a whole lot of problems in terms of from the Mania build to all these fucking optics and just poor things that WWE are just kind of fumbling. And I think that's coming down to, all right, some of the shine is wearing off. Like Mania 40 was great. But since then we've just kind of been coasting through whatever. Like it just feels like we're just kind of coasting through, and it feels like the whole lot of niggas are just like kind of wandering around and not really having no said fucking stories to be told. Like we getting, and I know that every single match at Mania ain't supposed to be some 5-star classic. It's gonna be some filler in that motherfucker. But Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, all right, man. Okay, bro. Like it's gonna get to a point where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna tap in for a handful of matches, but none of this shit feels like it's a must watch. None of it does. None of it does. Like if that Cena promo, outside of the bits and pieces of him like really getting aggressive and shit, if that Cena promo isn't gonna get me to really tap into what Mania is gonna be like, then there's no real like saving hope for it. We didn't even get like a real back and forth between Cody and Cena. And that should probably be a little alarming to somebody, because given how Cena is now, who knows? Is he gonna be at Raw next week? Like, is he gonna be here for any of the rest of this build? Again, how are we building towards Mania with Cody and Cena, and one of these niggas just done show up to work? At least when it was Brock and Roman, Brock would show up for them last few fucking weeks. Even if he wasn't doing that, was standing there letting Paul Heyman speak, he would at least show up. It's just too much shit that I'm not really fucking with. That I'm not. Now, in terms of that Cena promo, I actually did like it. Like I said, I love when Cena talks like really aggressive, when he really starts barking back at the crowd. But when you look at it a little deeper, you start to be like, hey man, a lot of this shit really doesn't, make that much of sense. Like, how did you get to this point? Right? How did you get to this point of, and I don't think I touched on this last week when I was talking about the actual heel turn itself and how it just kind of didn't make that much of sense. What was the point of him doing all of this when, like, nigga, you won the match? Like, I could understand if you got in there and you tried your hardest and all of this shit, and I know that it would have been difficult for it to be Cena and for it to be Cena and Cody if he didn't win the match. But then I'm like, all right, cool, you can still win the match. You didn't have to turn him heel that night though. You could have waited. Like, and I think that's kind of going back to how people are feeling that this Cena turn is falling flat, because it feels like we're making way too much progress way too fast. Knowing that, all right, this is his retirement tour, and right now we're basically 3 months into it, and we know for a fact that this story isn't ending at Mania. So if it's not ending at Mania, we felt like we've gotten a major development too far too soon. Like I said, even if you just push this heel turn back to Mania, cool. Or the Monday after Mania, cool. That makes a whole lot more sense than doing this shit now and it not really fully making sense on why you're doing it right now. And then when you get on the mic and you boil it down to why you did this shit was because you feel unappreciated. Like that's kind of like a lot of this shit is just feeling it's feeling like a bunch of blah. The full Mania build, a lot of these feuds, a lot of this shit, it's just feeling like they just haven't really given a fuck. Like it's felt like they've gotten the people here to this point so far, and because you've gone with us this far, you willing to eat up anything. You willing to accept in any of this shit. And with that, they just kind of be like, all right, cool. If you put up with this, you'll put up with anything. And so that's why I feel like a lot of people have had these issues with this whole Mania build, right? Why people are so disappointed in how this shit is going. And of course, it's going to happen. Like, no company is ever going to be in everybody's good graces 100% of the time. There are going to be lows, right? people look at that. People look at 2005 to 2000, 2005 to 2000, that era from 2005 to 2008 for a reason for it being a low point. Like people are justified in feeling that way because for a lot of that shit, it was just low. A bunch of John Cena winning, a bunch of injuries, a bunch of just nonsensical shit that didn't really make much of sense. Right? People are justified in feeling that way, so it's bound to just come back around. It's bound to come back around, and people are bound to feel how they feel, even if it is like a bunch of like sour grapes and shit. Like I remember, I was talking about and I used to watch the OSW reviews and shit, and I went back and I watched they used to do like WWE pay-per-views from like 2014, 2015 and shit like that. So I used to go back and listen and watch those. And the shit that they would be clamoring for, I'm like, oh boy, you have no idea how this shit went. Right? Like you have no idea. The niggas that you clamoring for, the niggas that you upset and pissed aren't winning for a reason. The fact that this shit is gonna wear off pretty fucking quickly. And I think that's where most of this shit is stemming from, is that niggas just got sour grapes that their favorites aren't really doing shit. You know what I'm saying? Niggas are in a poor position where they feel like my view of how this shit should be going is greater than the actual view of what the company is doing. And that can be true, but ultimately it's just kind of like, at the end of the day, what you want is very self-serving. And ultimately, it's just going for a moment where niggas is trying to build to a more well thought out program. And so that's, when people start letting them sour grapes set in and it ends up just tanking the whole product and how they feel about the product, it all just ends up nobody ends up benefiting the company or the consumer itself. And then a lot of that shit ends up with people, a lot of that shit ends up coming from people. Like the fact that everybody has a voice, everybody has an opinion now. And so there are a lot more mouths that are being listened to than were listened to way a long time ago, where you're able to hear pretty much everybody's stupid ass fucking opinion that ultimately just doesn't really matter, because it's hard to cipher through the people who genuinely mean well and the people who just kind of are playing devil's advocate or playing contrarian and just want to see some different shit for the sake of it being different. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, it's just, I know this is a wild departure from last week where a bunch of it was just kind of upbeat, but that's just kind of how it's felt. Like, there's a reason why I said that I don't feel like waiting till Friday to record this shit, because I got a feeling nothing of note is going to happen. And nothing of note did really happen. And so I know it's going to be one of those like up and down things, but I just, I'm starting to see and understand why people feel the way that they feel. Right. Speaking of how people feel the way they feel, I saw last week that BET put out a list of the top 15 black wrestlers of all time. And all of the discourse around it has been very alarming, because like, I don't think niggas are really understanding a bunch of this shit. Like, I don't think niggas is really understanding that. Number one, BET isn't black owned. So a lot of this shit is disingenuous. Number two, most of these social media accounts are running the same playbook where engagement is better than quality. If I can get 1,000 likes, if I can get 10,000 comments, reposts, requotes, whatever on a tweet that's just niggas telling me how stupid I am, that's a lot better than getting 1,000 likes on a quality post. And so I think people aren't able or haven't been able to properly distinguish the two. Like, people haven't been able to really go into that when it comes to looking at these lists. They haven't been able to turn off the this post means well. Like, they haven't been able to come into it and be like, 9 times out of 10, this post is, the only reason this post exists is for me to be upset about it. So I'm looking at this top 15 black WWE wrestlers of all time list, and off rip, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, if you talk about anything black wrestlers, there should be 4 names that are automatic slots on whatever you talk about. Ron Simmons, The Rock, Booker T, and Bianca Belair. Those are the 4. Like, no matter what you talking about in any of this, like, those should be the 4 names that are on that list no matter what. And so when I'm looking at this list and I'm trying to decide on what they mean when they speak of top black wrestlers of all time, are you talking about in-ring ability? Are you talking about character? Are you talking about championship success? Any of that. What are you talking about? And so when I'm looking at it, I can't gain that. Like, I see Booker T at number 1, The Rock at number 2. Number 3 is Kofi Kingston. Number 4 is Mark Henry. Number 5 is Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. Number 6 is Junkyard Dog. Number 7 is Ron Simmons. Number 8 is Bobby Lashley. Number 9 is Bianca Belair. Number 10 is Devon Dudley. Number 11 is Big E. Number 12 is Jacqueline. Number 13 is Naomi. Number 14 is Shelton Benjamin. Number 15 is Jazz. And in my honest opinion, this list is 5 people too long. 5 people too long. So when I say, like, I'm not sure how they're judging this list, it's mainly coming from the fact that of number 1 and number 2. Like, even though personally, I will always choose Booker T over The Rock because I'm just a bigger fan of Booker T. If you're talking about success, Booker T should not be number 1. It should always be The Rock. And I know niggas get a little funny when it comes to talking about The Rock, about how he doesn't really amplify his black side outside of when he talks about his dad. But I mean, come on, man. The nigga's name is Dwayne. He doesn't really need to do all of that much, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, the Booker T being number 1, and The Rock being number 2, I'm not really that indifferent about it. Number 3 being Kofi Kingston over people like Ron Simmons and Bobby Lashley. That is fucking insane. Even as a matter of fact, Kofi Kingston being number 3 over Bianca Belair is wildly insane. And like, I like Kofi. Like, Kofi is cool, but we just can't. We can't let Kofi Mania cloud the fact that for 10 years this nigga was just middle of the pack, boring as hell. Like, yeah, the whole fake Jamaican shit was cool in 2008 when he first came, but that shit really wore off pretty quickly. Now, given I may not be understanding his true impact because when he was active, when he was like young and active in the main scene, I wasn't watching. But from the parts that I did see of Kofi, I just don't get it. Mark Henry being up here, I mean, what, 2 heavyweight championship reigns? That's about it. World's strongest man in WWE terms, sexual chocolate. If anything, Mark Henry should be at the bottom of this list. Sasha Banks, I am a known Sasha Banks hater, but she should be, her spot is pretty much good on this list. Junkyard Dog, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't learn about Junkyard Dog until SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. I did not know who Junkyard Dog was, but that's mainly because WWE has never done a good job of highlighting its black wrestlers or the history of black wrestling at all. And I'm gonna get to that in a little bit. But I had no idea who Junkyard Dog was. Like, I think I know who Coco Beware was before I knew who Junkyard Dog was. Ron Simmons being number 7 is very crazy. If you want to talk about anybody kind of setting the standard for black wrestlers, it should be Ron Simmons in terms of like being propped up on the mainstream or it being actively seen across multiple people. Then I would put Ron Simmons kind of at the top of that list. Bobby Lashley being here is cool. WWE champion, United States champion, ECW champion. It's cool for him to be up here. I would still put him in the middle of the pack. That's just my opinion. Devon Dudley being here, outside of that one charity TNA championship, TNA heavyweight championship he got, I don't think he should be here. If anything, I think people like Devon and Kofi should be separated in terms of them being like mainly tag team wrestlers. Going back to this Jey Uso shit. Like, if we're doing a top 10 black tag team members list, all right, cool. Devon is up there at the top. Kofi is up there at the top. But putting him on this list of the top 15 black wrestlers, I think that's just them going down the list and seeing, all right, who are black wrestlers and just putting them on, just putting them on this list. And given I'm not so dense or so stupid to the fact that I know that they not gonna put I know that they're not gonna put like Bad News Brown or fucking Bobo Brazil on this list, because a lot of niggas don't know who the fuck those people are. But still, come on, man. Let's see. Biggie at number 11. I mean, Biggie is cool. Still, I would have him in the middle of the pack, even though he has been a world champion in the past decade. Still, didn't really last long. Even though he got it taken from him on a whim. But that's a story for another day. Jacqueline, I mean, yeah, she deserves to be on this list as a former women's champion before there was the Divas champion. I hope I keep her on this list. Naomi too. Naomi, the first black SmackDown women's champion. First, like in the new terms of just the first black SmackDown Live women's champion. I would keep her on this list. Shelton Benjamin. Again, what are we talking about? We're talking about in-ring, successful championship pedigree. Like, what are we talking about? Because if you were going by in-ring, Shelton Benjamin at 14 is ridiculous. If you're talking about in-ring, Shelton Benjamin should be no lower than 3. And that's why I look at this list and I'm just like, oh, this is a engagement trap. This is somebody looking for 100,000 people to get on top of the list and tell them how wrong they are. And number 15 is Jazz. Like, okay, cool. Like I said, this is just somebody. This is just whatever social media intern or whatever the fuck. Getting on a list, going on fucking Wikipedia, looking up who are black wrestlers and just ranking them by name value. That's simply what this list is. And that's what I'm going to judge it as. Because that's the only way that this list makes sense. And I came across a TikTok and niggas talking about this shit, and he was like, well, where's New Jack? Why the fuck is New? And I'm like, come on, dog. New Jack shouldn't be nowhere near on none of these fucking top. And I love New Jack. I've made numerous New Jack edits and t-shirts and all of this shit. New Jack shouldn't be on none of these fucking lists. At some point, niggas really do just be talking out their ass in terms of just getting off a take. But yeah, man, this is when we run into a problem of us not having proper black representation in wrestling. Now, I've always said that when I was coming up, we didn't have that many on the roof for. When I was a child, it was at the most 4, and I'm speaking from somebody who was only watching WWE and TNA. I know there were a bunch of other black wrestlers in the indies and all these other promotions and shit, but I'm talking about somebody who was only watching WWE or watching TNA too. It wasn't that many for us to root for. Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Booker T, Mark Henry, fucking Orlando Jordan. New Jack wasn't around no more. The Rock wasn't around no more. Elijah Burke. Like there wasn't that many for us to root for. And then on top of that, WWE not being great at promoting their black wrestlers and mainly giving every single black wrestler they've ever had the exact same character. I think the only ones that weren't given that same character were ones who had already had characters established. So like Booker T and Orlando Jordan, those two come to mind in terms of like people who came in with the character already established. But other than that, if you were black and you came to the WWE, you were only given like a handful of gimmicks, and 9 times out of 10 you were given a heel gimmick because that's the only way that they saw you. Like, I love Crime Time. I did love Crime Time, and I have noticed. Well, not noticed that I understand that Crime Time didn't age well at all. And I'm not even one of them people that blame WWE for Crime Time, because we've learned over the years that Crime Time was their own idea. But it's like sometimes like can we like change this up into something else? Like, can we not amplify a fucking stereotype that does nothing but make us look dumb and make us look worse than we already do? Can we switch this up in some kind of way? Can I have a black baby face, please? Which is something that they've just now started getting into actively doing. Other than that, man, if you were black and you came into the company, you were automatically a fucking heel, which is, a part of a larger issue. Something that WWE just has not been able to, like I said, just having poor fucking optics, not being able to, like, if you looking at this shit from another way, like they have not done a great job of like portraying any of this shit to be any kind of equal. Especially now with the people that they are like letting into the company. Like this whole Tony, what's his name? Tony Hinchcliffe shit. And this roast shit. Like who asked for this? And then it's coming out that this wasn't a WWE idea. This is some shit that he came up and went to them and they just went along with it. Like, no matter how much somebody has kind of this whole business being built off of niggas having heat and niggas like being, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? People being shunned away from having bad heat with a whole lot of people. And this is who you bring in to talk about the biggest night in your company? Somebody who has disrespected an entire country. Like not even somebody who was just doing it for the fuck of it or who was in wrestling character. Like, no, he got his ass up on that stage and called an entire country a floating pile of garbage. He's connected with some of the worst people imaginable. Like, and that's why I don't fault niggas when they be saying that, oh, Triple H is making this shit feel like home for fucking Nazis. Like making this company feel like, oh yeah, if you this type of way, cool, you fit in over here. Like making this shit feel comfortable for niggas to come over here and just kind of spew all types of dumb shit. Making this place feel home for the worst people imaginable. And I just don't. At some point, niggas gonna have to have an honest conversation and stop hiding behind the fact that, oh, he's putting my people over, he's putting the people that I like over and doing all this other shit. At some point, we gonna have to start putting this wrestling shit to the side and start having some real life conversations about what he does and what he stands for. And how he's just kind of been playing this shit in our face the whole time. Like the fact that, and even though I wasn't surprised about this shit, the fact that throughout the entire month of February, WWE made no mention of Black History Month. Not one. As soon as Trump rolled back all them fucking all those DEI qualifications and all those DEI requirements, niggas said, oh yeah, fuck my employees. Fuck representing my employees. Like it wasn't already an issue that niggas were bringing up that, hey man, we're not really getting that many of us on these pay-per-views, on these shows, in these matches. We're not getting that many of us. And then to have a month that in the past, you have gone out of your way to properly build up and showcase us as a people. Now, no mention whatsoever. Some of the most successful people in your company are black, and yet you make no mention of it. None. Niggas have to go out of their way to do this shit on their own. And you don't expect nobody to ask no questions about that shit at all? You don't expect people to start looking at this shit and being like, hey man, what are we doing right now? Like what's really happening right now? And so you just continuing to just make it just harder and harder for people to probably root for you as not as a company, but just understand that, oh, I feel seen here. Like so many years of just goodwill just going down the drain because of, oh, this is who we are. We always go, like you said, like Michael May said, man, chickens coming home to roost. This is who you are. No matter how much of a front you put on, eventually you're gonna come home. You're gonna default back to what you are as a person and as a company. And so it's just, it's a sad thing to see. It's something that I won't be watching. It's something that I hope a lot of people don't watch so they understand that, oh yeah, this isn't, this was a mistake. This is what, this is a poor decision that we have made, or something that we honestly have to live with. Which is honestly a recurring thing so far. Of people just hoping that WWE sees that, hey man, we've made a mistake. But in all the years to where they've been put in that position, they've never lived up to that. They've never seen it. They've never understood it. They've never recognized it. You know? And so where people feel like they were gaining an edge and they were really making the gap between them and AEW further wider than what it was, now it's kind of like, all right, cool. Now we can take our glasses off. Now we can take our rose tinted glasses off and we can understand that, oh, this is the same old company. Didn't nothing change but a name on the paper. Didn't nothing change but a name on the paper, man. So even though niggas is down there in AEW still doing a bunch of dumb shit like that, I'm not even gonna go that far into it. But the fact that y'all niggas down there having death matches on TV, like that's just, at some point somebody in that company gotta say no. Somebody in that company gotta have some nuts and tell them niggas, no, we're not doing this. That's not what we do. But when that's what you built your whole company off of, you can't really say nothing. Like, you can't build your company off of being the alternative and fully leaning into that shit and now not do what the fuck you said you were. Like, niggas in this motherfucker getting suplexed on spiked bats and think that that's what niggas want to watch. Like, no. And see, I think that's the one thing that I guess people can point at in terms of like a textbook definition of why you do not 100% cater to the hardcore crowd. Because if you cater 100% to the hardcore crowd, you're not gonna do nothing but alienate everybody else. Because all up and down my timeline, I saw niggas calling this shit out as stupid as hell. It's stupid. And you want me to give you a pat on the back because a nigga getting nails dug out his fucking back on live TV? No, that shit is dumb. Just like one of your main superstars being asked for TV because he wants to go hike fucking Mount Everest. Some shit that is known that niggas do not come back from. And yet you let him go do that shit. And while he's out there doing something wildly dumb, y'all up here doing something is equally stupid. Like, what did anybody gain from that? It's a reason when Mick Foley was out here with the spike bat, he never actually hit nobody with that motherfucker. And now you asking niggas to take gut shots, and now he getting suplexed on the shit. And I know that there's no way to properly practice that shit, so niggas is just in the moment going with the flow. And what do you gain from that? A viral clip of niggas calling your shit stupid. People who like that backyard bullshit saying, "Oh my God, this is legendary." Da 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 da. Like, no, man, this shit's dumb. And that's why I'm saying, like, AEW is never going. They are never beating them allegations of just being of being WCW TNA 2.0. They never beating them fucking allegations. Cause you keep doing dumb shit like this. Like I said, at some point, somebody in their company got to say no. Somebody got to put their fucking somebody got to put their foot down and be like, "No, man, we're not doing this." And the one nigga that did, you fired him. The one nigga that wasn't going for the bullshit, you fired him. And watched all that money watched all that money he brought with him walk right out the door. I don't get it. And I don't understand it. And this ain't what this shit is supposed to be. This ain't supposed to be me shitting on companies and me shitting on a whole bunch of shit. This is supposed to be just talking about what I like and what I don't like. And so far, man, it's just been a whole lot of shit I don't. And this is where you being a proper fan of this shit becomes hard, because it's like you really got to sift through a bunch of this bullshit to find what you like and enjoy. Like, around this time, this is when I go back to my comfort. This is when I go back to 2008, 2007. Even though it wasn't that great back then either, but hey, I can find some joy out of some shit over here. Way more than I can get out of what I'm looking at right now. And that's what I advise other people to do. I advise other people to go through, find the shit that they like, and hold on to that. Cause there's gonna be a lot of shit coming that's just gonna be like, yeah, man, this shit is for the birds. I ain't really fucking with this shit. I'm just not. I'm just not. But yeah, man, it's another episode of the Top Rope Take. Hopefully you fuck with this one too. Like I said, man, give me some feedback. Give me some things that I can fix, that I can work on. You know, any type of feedback is welcome. Audio feedback, music feedback, topic feedback, whatever. Shit, if you want me to talk about anything, just, you know, you got my socials, you got all of the handles. Hit me up. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I surely enjoy recording it, and I'll be back in a week. Yeah. Peace.
Baby, give me some cash.